Hello, future people. I'm Jason the Bruce. Welcome to Getting Tabled, and welcome to Prepare for Conquest. In today's episodes, we're going to have a look at the rules for the Scion of Conquest.
You can arrange your brushes, prepare your clippers and your knives. But sometimes no matter how many tools or paints you have, it's not enough if the dice are not on your side. Sometimes you only have one choice, and that choice is to prepare for conquest.
Alright, so here we go. We're on the Parabellum website. Now, if you're wanting to look at the rules, you can download all of the rules and your FAQs from here. All of your army lists, core rules, are all available on the website for free. However, we are going to go to Game and to Army Builder, because this is where we're going to take everything from today. And today, we want to look at the Scion of Conquest. Before we look at the character, I want to quickly go through what each of the stats mean. March, as you can see on the screen, determines how far you can move. That's probably fairly obvious. Volley is your ranged attacks. So it uses examples here of throwing axes, longbows, etc, etc. In the case of the Wadroon, we'd be looking at the slings and the use of their throwing spears. Clash basically describes how good they are in melee. Fairly obvious. Attacks, fairly obvious. Wounds, fairly obvious. Resolve is how much courage and power that they have. If something's going wrong, how likely are they to flee from battle? Defense is fairly obvious. Evasion is dodging out of the way and that sort of thing. So that is what we're going to be looking at on the other side. Here we go. Your Scion of Conquest is an infantry type, obviously. He's a medium weight class, and he costs you 90 points. He has a march of 5, a volley of 2, clash of 3. He has 4 attacks, 4 wounds. He has 4 resolve. He has a defense of 2, an evasion of 2. Seems alright, but obviously at this point we don't know what we're comparing it with. Now, in our special rules here, Priest level 3 means that he's a level 3 priest. It's how many dice he gets, basically. For the case of spellcasters, they're all essentially the same thing at this particular point in time. This is likely to change at a later stage. Parabellum have said as much, but we don't know in which way that it'll change. It's just at this stage, a spellcaster is a spellcaster. Character is a fairly obvious special rule, so let's look at Cleave 2. So, enemy regiments suffer a penalty to their defense hits with this special rule made during a clash or a dual action. So, in the case that they're using against him, he has 2 defense. So normally, you would need to be rolling below that for it to be successful. So everything above 2 is a failure. Therefore, that would go down. You're pretty much losing his defense at that point. So he's not going to have anything left. Moving on. The Supremacy ability. This comes into play if you choose him as your warlord. The Vision of Conquest. So, until the end of turn, that means you need to say at the beginning of that turn when you're using it. Each time you draw a card from the command stack, instead, search your command stack and play a command card of your choice. So the benefit of this is that for one turn, you can react to everything that your opponent is doing, and you don't have to stick to how you had originally laid everything out. Warband cults is a fairly standard thing across most of the army. We'll cover this at a later stage. Artifacts. I'll come back to artifacts in a few moments. Spells is what I want to concentrate on first. So, you must select a spell. At least one. So you've got Crescendo, which costs you 40. Dissonance, which costs you 30. And Cacophony, which costs you 10. So, let's start with Cacophony. So, Cacophony has a 12-inch range. It's a difficulty 4 that scales. I'll explain scaling in a moment. Target regiment and any attached character scans may not resolve draw events other than Decay X until the caster's next activation. So basically, scaling, the larger the enemy is, the more difficult it becomes. So draw events is when they come out onto battle, they usually do something, and basically what this is doing is taking away that ability. Dissonance is also, so this is range self, but it's also a difficulty 4, but it's just a flat 4 this time. Until the end of the caster's next activation, each time an enemy spellcaster attempts to cast a spell onto a regiment within 12 inches of this caster, or attempts to cast a spell while within 12 inches of the caster, after rolling for success and before the result is calculated, you may discard any number of chant markers from the sequence to discard a die of your choice for each chant marker discarded that way. The only downside of this, besides losing your chant stuff, is you need to be within 12. So this means that this character is going to have to be up in the battle. So you're going to want to be careful with that because he does have defense, but he doesn't have a great defense. So last but not least, we have Crescendo. So this is also range self. Everything's difficulty 4 with this guy. So you add a conquest chant marker to the sequence, reveal your next command card. If it belongs to a regiment, draw that command card and the regiment activates immediately. Otherwise, return it to the top of your command stack. Regiments acted this way do not add a chant marker to the sequence. So there's your downside. But if you set this up properly, because at the start of your turn, you need to set it up so that the card after him is going to be a regiment. Otherwise, you're a bit of an idiot. But this is potentially very powerful. I think my preference out of these would be Dissonance. I think my preference is Dissonance. Just because I could see myself using it more. And I'm not... No, I prefer Crescendo. I mean, there's bits where all of these would be useful. But it means I get a Conquest chant marker. And I could see this being very, very useful. So long as you set it up properly. Okay. Retinues. So, retinues are essentially people that you can add to your stand to give you extra abilities. There's something that we'll cover at a later stage. I want to cover his warband stuff though. So each character has to bring people with them. This is how you get your main troops into the game. Mainstays should be fairly obvious. Restricted should sound fairly obvious. Basically, you can't have a restricted without already having a mainstay. So you can have as many mainstays as you like, but you must have at least one mainstay for every restricted that you take. So in his case, he can take Blooded, Braves, and the Chosen of Conquest. It's worth noting that we don't have models for the Chosen of Conquest yet. His restricted stuff we also don't have any models for yet, but it's the Chosen of Death, Famine, and War. Artifacts. Okay. Some of these will have crossover with other characters, some of them will not. Basically, artifacts are things that you can add to your character to customize them. It usually gives the character and who comes with them a bit of a benefit in some way. So this is going to be... It's going to be adding a lot of strategy to how you want to play this. But let's just go through very, very quickly. So, this one increases your range of your spells by 6 inches. And spells that with a range of self are unaffected. So the only one that's going to be affected by this is Cacophony. It would mean that it has an 18-inch. Ooh. Primordial Splinter. When this character casts a spell, they add 1 dice to their spell casting attempt, and it's unaffected by enemy interference. Okay, yep, that's pretty good. It means that you've got a greater chance of getting things off. Armors, I suspect these will be fairly straightforward. Before making injury rolls, the character removes one successful hit caused by the opponent. That's pretty good. 25 points for that. Heartblood Draft. Gains one wound. Always good. Roar of the Tribe. Once per game, regiment may use this banner after placing its chant marker. The regiment chants the battle cry, but only discards one chant marker from the sequence. Oh! Okay, I could see why that's 45 points. That could be very useful. Battle Horn. All friendly regiments within 8 may re-roll their charges. Death's Gaze. Any regiment this character has joined gains the throwing weapons special rule. So what does that? This stand inflict impact hits regardless of the type and class. So whereas normally impact hits only affect the charge if they're lighter than you, this means that it happens regardless. While the regiment has 4 or more non-character stands, or already has the throwing weapon special rule, they also gain the unstoppable charge special rule, which doubles the number of impact hits. So that's potentially very good with certain things. I just don't see it being as effective with this particular character. +1 evasion to a maximum of 3, which is what it would take him to anyway. That was the Scars of Endikar. We've got a Dreamcatcher here. Character scan gains the following supremacy ability in addition to any other they have. Wind's Children. All friendly regiments within 8 gain the Torrential Fire special rule. Unless firing at long range, each successful hit this regiment inflicts generates an additional range attack. Oh, okay, you don't want to use that with this guy. It would be completely pointless because it's only going to affect people that are throwing from a distance. Mantle of the Devoted. So you gain the Fanatic special rule, which basically means you choose a tier bonus due to the chant battle cry. Wait, what? When a regiment with this special rule chooses a tier bonus due to the chant battle cry, it always counts as having discarded from the sequence an additional chant marker belonging to their cult to a maximum of 4. But they may only choose of their own cult's bonus. So it means that they're slightly cheaper, is the way that I'm reading that. So if I want to do something that would cost them 4, it would only cost them 3, I believe. We got a mask here, gains 2 defense. We got a spear, gain an extra attack. Touched by the Goddess, allows you to fault the Cult of Conquest. So there's only certain people that usually get to do that, so that's quite helpful. But completely pointless on this one though, because he's already following it. And then we've got the Censor. This character stand comes as having... Okay, that would be pointless. Weapons. You become Cavalry and is light class. Adds +2 to its March characteristic. Gains the throwing weapons special rule, which we've already read. Impact Brutal 2. So we need to read that. Enemy regiments suffer a penalty to their defense against impact hits caused with this special rule. Okay, so you get a +2 penalty. And Unstoppable Charge, which we've also already read. I think I like this. I think I really like this. I'm not sure I'd use it on this guy though, because there's no point if he's not going to be able to take any cavalry with him. Beast Drum. Gains flurry, which means you can re-roll all failed hits. Kiss of the Dillosaur. Successful injury caused by this character must be re-rolled. During a dual action, successful injury rolls made by this character stand immediately cause the opponent to suffer an equal number of hits. Oh, nice. And finally, we've got the hidden fang. You gain the Quicksilver Strike. If this character is involved in a dual action, whether or not it was initiated by them, it always resolves its blows first. Oh, nice. If both characters have this special rule, then you go back to striking simultaneously. Nice. So that gives you a bit of an idea of the artifacts. There will be others that come in other characters that we'll cover at a later stage. Here's my theory. I'd be paying the extra 20 for the essence so that you get 18 inches on that spell. And then I'd be taking Cacophony, saving yourself the extra points. It means that you don't have to be up as far as you would have been otherwise, and 18 inches gets you much more use out of him than you would have otherwise, and it's only 20 points. That's probably the way that I would go at this stage, but keeping in mind this is the first of these that I've looked at, so my plan at the end of the month could be completely different. This is something we'll have to come back to when we build the full army. If you're interested in getting into Conquest or expanding your existing force, either use the QR code on screen or the link in the description to open the Parabellum website, and when you're asked if you have a discount voucher, enter Getting Tabled without spaces, just like you see on your screen, to receive 10% off your order. In doing so, not only will you save money, but you also help support our channel without any cost to you. Thank you very much to anyone who chooses to do that. It's greatly appreciated. You're helping us improve our content and bring more content to you. Thank you very much for checking out this video. If you're enjoying the content of this channel, please like and subscribe. If you're in a position to do so, please check out patreon.com/gettingtabled. You receive early access to at least 80% of all videos that we put out, and you get access to the video edition of all of our podcasts the day that they're uploaded. If you'd like to check us out on social media, facebook.com/gettingtabled is the most active. We also have a Discord server. You can email our team at gettingtabled@gmail.com. If you're on either Twitter or Instagram, you can find us at gettingtabled. And until next time, play more games.